Delayed gratification is a system that does work and/or works, but deserves criticism. Here are some points. In the delay period in delayed gratification, the individual still desires gratification. Of course, one could gratify oneself in other ways in this period with other things. But it is not the substitute for the goal of the delayed gratification, and in this, I would suggest the individual desires to get gratification in the delayed gratification system itself, as that is most directly connected to the desired goal, and thus forms gratification in the delay itself. This is the beginning of a perversion of delayed gratification. There begins a pleasure grown out of the anticipation and dreaming about the thing. The waiting and dreaming of the goal born out of the delay becomes part of the gratification. There also may develop a masochistic pleasure in the delay, that the delay as punishment becomes a form of perverted enjoyment. I would also suggest that I believe that people extend the delay just because they think that in lengthening it, they will end up with more gratification in the end, regardless of thinking whether that makes any sense or not in the extending of the action. In this new relationship with the delay, the individual may extend the delay longer than it needs to be, with these involving additions, up to the point where their relationship with the delay becomes so intense and also normalized, and or they get stuck in its repetition that they do not wish to part with it to the gratification, and the delay takes over, possibly permanently. Delayed gratification can be overused. I at least personally have found the labor and or effort and mood and time involved needed to obtain a gratification involves far more displeasure than the pleasure I get from the goal. Delayed gratification is so common in our culture, it has ingrained its very structure into our own cultural structures, social order, economic, mental processes, etc. And thus, much of the delayed gratification we participate in is forced, or essentially outside our choice. We must admit that the system of delayed gratification is goal-orientated, that is, end-orientated, and not process-orientated. But even more than that, because process very much implies end, but what I would say is, it does not orientate action as pleasure, but the end of action as pleasure. It also can, in this, disregard time, and thus disregard the majority of one's very life for fewer moments of pleasure that were not worth the effort. Our beliefs about delayed gratification allow us to also accept poorer qualities in life, whether they serve the system of delayed gratification or not, in the belief that they do. There is an element of delayed gratification that implies a split between action and gratification. This split is in part a disconnect from the world, a removal of an integration into reality, in which reality does not reciprocate at the moment as strongly.